Every time a new set comes out, a lot of people start asking themselves, okay, when's the best time to buy singles? And for the longest time, just about every single time a set releases, and immediately over the next couple of weeks, single cards in the set really start crashing. And that's basic economics, right? That's supply and demand. As more and more product gets opened, singles get put up, duplicates are sold, triplicates are sold, and it really is kind of a race to the bottom, especially on a website, a platform like TCG Player. The singles are constantly moving down, 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 but rarely and occasionally it does happen where you have a set. We just talked about it yesterday with the price changes of Scarlet and Violet 151. You have a set that comes out that starts increasing in price as it ages, as it goes on and on, because the supply is just not keeping up with demand. Now, I do think that Scarlet and Violet 151, a lot of those single prices are going to go down, but there are also certain cards in every set that comes out that might surprise you a little bit on how they perform. And that's why studying the market and studying what's going on with singles, especially from a competitive standpoint, and I'm going to give you a bit of information in this video that will hopefully help you make the best buying decision when it comes to kind of adding singles to your collection, filling out master sets, things like that. Every once in a while, you get singles that perform well above what they're expected to do, especially opening weekend. We talked about that whole race to the bottom mentality, and that really happens. And the reason why it happens is because TCG Player, which is kind of like the barometer for the market when it comes to singles, for a lot of playable cards, a lot of collectible cards, probably not as much when it comes to a collectible market as a playable market, but as sets release and more people are able to open up booster packs, the only stores that can really put up pre-orders for singles when it comes to a new sets are stores that are authorized by TCG Player to do so. They have to be authorized as a pre-order store so they can have, build and battle events, pre-release events, things like that. And then they have the ability to do pre-orders. If they're not allowed and approved by TCG Player, then you can't do that until opening day. You can't sell cards of a new set like Paradox Rift until opening day. So after opening day hits, then it's kind of free reign for anybody. Anybody who wants to list on TCG Player can then list on TCG Player, causing that race to the bottom to really intensify, and then singles really start dropping. So we're going to talk about Paradox Rift, and I'm hopefully going to give you some good information today. If you do get good information out of it, please hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment on the video. But first, before we jump into things, I do have a master set of Paradox Rift right here. This is the Fanny master set that we have to give away. We are going to give away a master set every single new set release. So we got a couple month break now, but I was building master sets anyways, and I was like, it's a lot of work to put together a master set. I might as well build a second one and then just kind of give it away, especially right now because there are so many sets that have come out. So if you don't win this one, January is our next set release. They're going to keep coming. We're going to keep doing giveaways, try and get as many cards into the hands of you guys as we possibly can. And the January set actually looks like it's getting better. I wasn't overly thrilled about it to begin with, but now as more and more leaks kind of come to fruition, it does look like it could be a lot of fun. It also looks like it's going to be a very daunting master set. So we're going to give away this entire master set right now. So congratulations to the winner, Ender 4037. Ender 4037, you are the winner of the Fanny Master Set for Paradox Rift. So I just need you to send me your information. You can find me on Instagram at Danny.Phantom. You can find me on Twitter at Danny__O, or you can just email me, DannyPhantomContent@gmail.com. I'll just need you to verify your YouTube credentials and then give me your best mailing address, and I will ship that off to you. Congratulations. Like I said, if you didn't win, we're going to keep the giveaways going, especially as we move into the holiday season. I've got a lot of good ideas. Well, hopefully good ideas, fun ideas, like involving Card Party. I think that'll be fun. It's going to be really good. So hang tight if you didn't win. Don't get frustrated. Just keep it. I have no idea what I'm saying. I'm going to flip you guys around so we can talk about some important information when it comes to Paradox Rift. So we're going to start out talking about the ancillary cards, and the ancillary cards are very, very important. And this is something that I talk about frequently in a lot of different videos, because while there are chase cards in a lot of different sets, like right now, the special illustration rare Roaring Moon. We'll talk about that in a minute, but that has done extremely well in Paradox Rift, and with pull rates being a little bit more difficult than what we're accustomed to for main series set releases when it comes to Scarlet and Violet, that Roaring Moon is doing extremely, extremely well. A lot of people's chase card is that Roaring Moon. Most sets do have chase cards. They do have difficult pull rates, but it's the ancillary cards, the regular art EXs and below, that have a little bit better pull rates, like Earthen Vessel, for example. Earthen Vessel is just an item card in Paradox Rift, you should pull 2, maybe 3, maybe you'll pull a reverse holo out of your booster box. So you'll get several different copies of it. And the value, if you want to pay attention to value, as long as you don't focus only on value, the value, bringing down the cost of that booster box is really kind of what you're going for, to eliminate that fun cost. Make it as affordable as possible. Every time you pull an earthen vessel, which right now is selling with a value of $1.30 per item or per earthen vessel, that brings down the cost of that booster box basically $1.30 each time. So if you're paying $100 for a Paradox Rift booster box, which is basically the market price right now, every time you pull that earthen vessel, let's say you pull 4 earthen vessels, well, that $100 booster box just became a $95 booster box. The value of that booster box became $95 that you have invested into it. So every time you pull something that brings down that value, that cost, is kind of a win. And there's other ancillary cards that are a little bit easier to pull, like these regular art EXs. And the good thing about Paradox Rift is there's quite a few of them. There's 4 regular art EXs that are doing extremely well. We'll talk about the Roaring Moon a little bit later on, but here you can see the Roaring Moon market price right now selling for $15.89. However, the lowest listed one, the lowest one available right now, is selling for $16 on TCG Player. You do have Iron Hands EX currently with a market price of $7.97. You have Iron Valiant EX with a market price of $6.61, and that Goldenado EX selling currently for $7.82. And the reason that I wanted to put this up here is because it is very, very important that if you are somebody who's really just into collecting and you're not too much into playing, now I do recommend kind of checking out a local league and playing. If you pull duplicates or triplicates of any of these cards, now is probably going to be the time to move them. Paradox Rift has not been tested yet as far as competitive sides go, and it won't be until next weekend. So next weekend we have the Latin America International Championship, so a lot of competitive players are getting decks from the new set because Paradox Rift will be legal for that tournament. So a lot of players are going to want to use or potentially use these new cards. So they're kind of loading up on these cards now, so that way they have the ability to play these cards at the Latin America International Championships if they so choose. The other caveat to remember, Roaring Moon EX and Iron Valiant EX are both going to have box sets that release at the end of the month. So at the end of November, after a couple of weeks here, you basically have 2-3 weeks here where these prices might stay close. Really, it's probably only going to be about a week, because the prices, as more and more product gets opened up, they are probably going to dip more and more. However, once a box promo gets released, and this is a great thing that Pokemon does, is they do release a lot of playable cards in box sets, theme decks, things like that, and that makes the game a whole lot more affordable for just about everybody. So if you do have a local league, even if you're somebody who's not looking at playing, I highly recommend going and checking it out and starting to trade off. You know, it is called the Pokemon trading card game. Starting to trade off some of your duplicates. You'll find players at your local league who might want a copy of Roaring Moon EX or 2 copies of Roaring Moon EX, and then you might be able to trade off your 2 Roaring Moon EXs that have a value currently of $15.89 for maybe something that you're missing out of your master set. So I think it's really important to kind of look at where the market is right now and what the competitive cards are that are impacting a set. So I thought that would be important and worth noting. Now we're going to look at the actual percentages. So every new set release, what I like to do is I like to screenshot TCG Player, basically going in descending order of the most expensive card and then kind of going on for a couple pages, so that way we can take a look at how intense the price changes are. We do get price changes pretty much every single release, and that's why it's important not to focus on the value of things. Have fun, open up the new set, just make sure you budget yourself, right? Don't overdo it, don't overspend or anything like that. There will be singles that will be around for a very long time that you can kind of add to your master collection as you continue working within your budget, and that's very important. However, the extremeness of these price changes are very, very interesting. So you might have sets like Battle Styles, when that originally released, basically every chase card in Battle Styles or every ultra in Battle Styles dropped like 70-80% within its first week. It was absolutely insane. And then you have some sets like, for example, Roaring Moon, where you do have some cards that increase in value within the first week. Now, a lot of cards did suffer fairly substantial dips. However, some cards like this Roaring Moon EX, for example, have actually gained quite a bit of ground. And part of that is going to be due to pull rates. Part of it is going to be due to FOMO. A lot of different things that kind of go into this, but it's important to make sure you work within your budget and you don't FOMO, so that way you're not overspending. But if you look at this Roaring Moon EX, so when TCG Player, right before they kind of unleashed the gates where everybody could start listing on TCG Player, the Roaring Moon EX had settled at $77.72 for a market price. This was the market price, $78. Roaring Moon was available on TCG Player. That was last Friday in the morning, right before, like I said, TCG Player kind of opened the floodgates and anybody could list. Currently, as I looked last night, now prices have already changed a little bit. As I looked last night, when I put this whole slideshow together, Roaring Moon EX, the special illustration rare, was selling for $114.77. So that was the new market price that was established over the past week. So it has gained 47.67% over the past week from when it started. That is a very, very large and substantial increase in price. Now, do I think it's going to go down again? Yeah, absolutely. As more and more product becomes opened, it is going to go down. And again, once the box set comes out, even the special illustration rare is going to be impacted somewhat, because a lot of players are going to sell off their duplicate copies, or they might be like, well, I don't need these special illustration rares anymore. I can just play the lowest rated. It is going to get impacted as more and more supply becomes available. Mela, the special illustration rare, this one did get hit very hard, and a lot of these singles did get hit extremely hard. 55.72% is the drop that Mela just experienced over the past week. It went from 72.84 down to 32.25, so you can see cut in half, over half of the drop on that one. Golden Go, this was actually my chase card in the set. Golden Go, I love the Gimme Ghoul Golden Go line. I think it's absolutely adorable. Market price of $69.08 last Friday, dropped almost 40%, so not quite as significant of a drop as the Mela experience, but still a decent size drop, almost 40%. It dropped down to $41.83. The Iron Valiant EX actually held on very, very strong and almost went up a little bit. It's a marginal increase, but it is something. Once you see cards that are actually stagnant for the first week, or even single digit drops, it's very interesting to look at, because that is out of the norm of what we're used to seeing, especially when it comes to new set releases. So the Iron Valiant EX, just about a market price of $56 last Friday. So on release day, it was at $55.95. Actually went up about 1.5%. So it's sitting at $56.86 currently. Again, I do expect it to drop a little bit, but very interesting to see it stay relatively flat over the first week. Iron Hands EX, the special illustration rare, went from $42.38 on release day down to $37.57, which is not that bad of a drop at all, only about 11.35%. So that one's not doing that bad. Rika got absolutely destroyed. Rika dropped over 60%. So this is the special illustration rare variant. $39.88 is where it started out on Friday. Dropped down to $15.77. So that's a 60.46% drop. That is very, very substantial. If we look at Professor Sada, this one only dropped 12.6%, so held on a little bit better, or a lot better actually, than what we saw from most of these other special illustration rares when it comes to the Paradox Rift trainers. $35.88 is where they started at on release day, dropped down to $31.36, so it only lost about $4.50, very close to single digits as far as the drop goes. It dropped 12.6%, so that's very interesting. Tulip, this one dropped a little bit more, so this is much more comparable to what we saw with Mela. This one went from $35.45 down to $19.48, so that's about a 45% drop. The Garchomp EX Special Illustration Rare, probably not as big of a drop as what I think a lot of people probably would have expected, but it did start out a little bit lower than I thought it would. So a market price of $34.52 is where this started out on Friday morning. After a week, it dropped down about $4, so down to $30.47, which is only about an 11.5% drop, so that's not too bad at all. Parasol Lady, the Special Illustration Rare, this one only dropped 10.5%, so almost single digits for this one. This one's not bad. Less than a $4 drop. The market price on Friday when it released was $32.33. It dropped down to $28.93. The Altaria EX is one of the special illustration rares that actually increased in price over the past week. Now, not a huge jump by any means. You're looking at less than $1, but still 3% of an increase over the past week. And anytime you see a card stay flat or increase a little bit, it's always very interesting to look at. So a market price of $29.35. Very beautiful artwork on this one. Jumped up to $30.24, so just over a 3% jump. The Gold Garchomp, this one got hit pretty hard. This one started out at $27.61, a little bit higher, I think, than what a lot of people thought some of these gold cards would start out at, and because of that, it did drop significantly down to $12.06, so it saw about a 56.32% drop. If we look at the Tapu Koko EX, I love this card. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. Not a bad price point on this one. Market price of $27.37 when it started out on release day. It did go down about 26%, so not a terrible drop, but a little bit more substantial than some of the other ones that we looked at. Currently selling at $20.17. The Gold Iron Valiant, gold cards just don't do it the same way that they used to. This one started out at $26.69 on release day. It dropped down to $11.18, about a 58% drop for this Iron Valiant EX. The Groudon, the big dino Pokemon, this one has done extremely well opening week, and the current price now is actually a lot lower than where it was a couple days ago. So it started out at $25.53 on release day, jumped all the way up now to $34.62. So it's jumped up about 35%, 35.5% over the past week, doing extremely well. If we look at Professor Turo, the special illustration rare, this one was a little bit bigger of a drop. It dropped almost 39% from 24.47 down to 14.95. Roaring Moon EX, the other good thing about Roaring Moon EX is if you're looking to play it, there's at least a bunch of different rarities available for you to purchase. This one holding very strong just because of its playability. $22.57 is where it started at on opening day. It has lost about $1.50, so down to $21.11, but only a 6.5% drop over the first week. The full art Mela has been absolutely obliterated. This one dropped from $21.45 on release day all the way down to $5.16. So you're looking at almost a 76% drop for that full art Mela right there. Absolutely insane. This Garchomp EX, the full art Terra, has dropped dramatically also. This one also started out a lot higher than I thought it would. A market price of $21.14 on release day. You can see lower listings already on release day. $6.71 is its current price. That's a 68.26% drop. The full art Roaring Moon actually went up a little bit, and part of that is just because of its playability, right? 19.92% of a gain over the past week. It went up from $19.08 up to $22.88. This is very reminiscent of what we saw in Obsidian Flames with the Charizard EX. Now, the Charizard did drop a lot for those higher rarity cards, but if you think about it, the regular art, the gold card, and the full art Terra card, all selling between $20 and $30 really after opening day, after opening week, because of its playability. The Gliscopod EX special illustration rare dropped 12%, not a bad drop, but it started out much lower, $18.60 down to $16.31. If we look at the gold counter catcher, this one dropped 18.5% and went from $16.65 down to $13.58. The Parasol Lady full art started out at $16.04 on release day, dropped over 50%, so a 51.18% drop down to $7.83. Here's the full art Iron Valiant, not too bad of a drop on this one, went from $15.25 down to $12.52, so currently a 17.9% drop, not too bad on that one. Reversal Energy got hit a little bit harder than I thought it would, especially because it does have some playability associated with it. Started out a little bit lower than I thought it would also. $14.93 on this one, but that just goes to show you the gold card's not nearly as popular as they used to be. Current price at $9.84, so it dropped just over 34%. The full art Iron Hands is doing extremely well, only dropped about 3.83% from $14.88 down to $14.31. The Roaring Moon EX, this one actually has adjusted, as you saw at the beginning of the slideshow. The Roaring Moon EX market price already had dropped down to like $15, so that's a lot can happen overnight. The volatility is absolutely insane. $13.42 is where it started out last Friday. It did jump up to $17.14 yesterday. That was a 27.72% increase. The Golden Go EX full art market price last Friday was $13.41. It's held on fairly well, down to $11.09, so about a 17.3% drop. The Sandy Shock EX special illustration rare, this is just the special illustration rare. Apparently that's not the chase for really anybody, because it started out extremely low at $13.39 and dropped even further than that. So now it's a single digit card as a special illustration rare, dropped down to $9.49, so about a 29% drop. The full art Tulip took a big hit from $13.38 down to $6.22. That's about a 53.5% drop. The full art Professor Seda actually did extremely well, holding very strong, relatively flat for its entire week. Market price of $12.25 on release day, did drop down to $11.96, but only about a 2.25% drop on that one. The illustration rare Evital, so this is the second illustration rare that we're looking at. I think we have one or two more yet. This one started out opening day at $11.88, holding on fairly well, dropped about 26% down to $8.80. The Beach Court, the gold Beach Court, this one also got destroyed pretty good, went from $11.71 down to $6.60, so a $6.50 gold card right now, down to dropped 43.64%, which is pretty intense. And then this is the last page that we're going to look at here. The Steelix illustration rare, the Construction Steelix, very cool looking card, started out with a market price of $11.68, dropped only about 3% opening week. Not a bad drop at all. $9.88 is where it's currently selling. Rika got hammered opening week, like just $11.16 all the way down to $4.21. So 62% drop, 62.28% the drop on that one. But the illustration rare Morpeko doing extremely well. Started out opening day at $9.73, jumped up about 24.25%, up to $12.09. So that was very interesting information to kind of look at and see where the singles market is going. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend making any buying decisions really until a few weeks, maybe even a couple months after a set releases. Really, once that supply really starts getting opened up and demand kind of moves down, because a lot of people will kind of move on to the next set. You know, come January, a lot of people will be focused on Scarlet and Violet 4.5 when it comes out, Paradox Rift singles might go down even further. You might see additional product getting opened. There's a lot of factors that kind of impact things. So what I recommend doing is really just focus on the commons, the uncommons, the reverse hollows, the hollow rares, things like that in your master set. Kind of build that up so that way you have your binder pretty much all set to go, adding just a little bit of ultra rares here and there, and then the heavy hitters you can kind of focus on down the road when they start getting a lot cheaper in price because people are more focused on the next set. That's all I got for you guys. I hope you enjoy the content. If you do, please hit that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment. You know the drill. It goes a long way for the algorithm. But ultimately, I just really appreciate you guys being here. So thanks so much. I'll talk to you again in a couple days. Until next time, peace.